Sanibonani, Molweni, and welcome back to Umthunzi, the shade where we find rest, a space to be and a space to breathe. Yeah, no, it is Feb, and most of us are already feeling the heat. I don't know, when the year starts, we are in full spirit and full energy, and for some reason mid-Feb it goes down. And in the last episode we spoke about the body being the first home, and I did touch on the concepts that I'm going to try and elaborate on today, and I do hope it sparks something. Remember, we are just stepping in the shade, not to fix or to blame or shame, just to nudge something within us that will help shape our days to be better, hopefully. So if you are seeing me for the first time, welcome to Umthunzi. Like Emakaya, where we have that big tree that offers us shade, this is the space where we listen, where we pause and rest, and where we have difficult conversations. Igama lami uThandiswa, and I am your host. So today angihambi ngedwa, ngihamba nama-notes ami. I've done YouTube previously, and I used to say things out of my mind, and it would lead me into rambling. Even now it's difficult for me to look into my notes and say whatever, but ngiyazama, Shailene is I am joking. I'm trying to calm myself down. Okay, so let's get into it. How do we leave the first body? I did highlights in the previous video that we've left our first body, we've left our first home, and that has resulted in us being almost half present. We are there but we're not, and it causes a lot of problems inside the body. But some of the concepts we'll be elaborating on as the episode flows. For now, I don't have a specific time that I'm going to be uploading, because one of the things that I struggled with previously was or is procrastination and self-sabotage. So if my body is in agreement with sitting down and doing a video, I'm going to do that, and if it feels safe in my body to upload, I'm going to upload. So you better press that notification button so that you don't miss out on the episode. Let's get into it before we ngikantlatha. Okay, so most of us learn to leave our body through various ways. Some of us, we were aware that there's something that is changing in us. Some of us, we're still not even sure that we are siyaphila noma asiphili, and it leads into different problems that we try and discipline ourselves out, and we fail. But the problem is that there's no housekeeping in the first body, and we've left the first body. So today I want us to stay a little bit longer in the shade as we try and debunk how we left or how we live, because some of us are still living. And mind you, the living that I'm speaking about is not ukusubumuhambe. It is just in a sense of not feeling safe in your body, and you don't rely on your body to lead you. So if the body says it's time to rest, you don't rest, etc. I want to first say we do not leave our body because we want to. The life we live teaches us to live outside of our bodies. And for most of us, it was during that time when we were growing up, you lost a loved one, you went through not trying to trigger people, but you may have been sexually assaulted or some form of abuse happened, and that was allowed, like, living. And for some of us, it was a quiet one where it happened through neglect. You were told that you cry too much, so you learned to silence yourself. You were told that you are too different, so you learned to disappear so that you don't get reminded that you are different from the rest. And as time goes on, we learn that for me to be safe, I need to keep quiet. For me to be loved and accepted, I need to be less honest. For me to be accepted, I need to discipline my body or punish my body or punish myself so that the abuse stops, so that the words being said, the hurtful words that are being said, they are no longer said. And the body, because it reacts to the external and what we also internalize, the body now says, okay, it is not safe here, so I am going to be less and less and less of who I am and who I was meant to be. Through the tone of our parents' voice, through the absence. That's why we have to stop giving our children silent treatment, because it conditions children differently. Some children, they go through these circumstances and they turn out fine, but for most it does really affect them. Sometimes us leaving the body, it's not a personal thing, but it's a cultural conditioning where boys are taught to not cry ndodaikali. Women are taught to I like this, I'm not Pedi or Tswana or what, but there's this saying that they normally use, Musadi Twarati Bambo Buhaleng. I think it translates to a woman, but I know the explanation. It's just that I am finding it difficult to explain it, but those who know, they know. And we then complain less. We stop being opinion, don't rest because uzokanapi hlezulala ilanga lizelingene laphayana. Yeah, you get it. And you are too soft, people bazokugibela ekhanda. And while there's nothing wrong with being too soft, I think the thing we miss as parents is teaching our kids to not be hard, but to have boundaries and be able to stand up for ourselves without being too angry. And so then, if I'm not going to complain, if I'm not going to cry, I override, or I learn to override my body. I learn that when I am exhausted, I try and pray myself out of the exhaustion. When I am in pain, I pray the pain. I try and pray the pain out. When I'm exhausted, I work hard, because if I stop, people are going to suffer. When I'm in pain, and it reminds me of the song that if I get tired along the way, those songs are not wrong, but for people are different and we react to the same situations differently. That's why when we advise, we have to make sure that we are not giving a one-size-fits-all advice, because reactions are not a one-size-fits-all. So you find someone praying through the pain instead of leaving the situation that causes them pain. and that is overriding your body, that is overriding yourself, and teaching your body that it is unsafe to live, but it is better to stay in a painful situation. And we discipline ourselves through fear. For some it works, for some it doesn't. That's why I always cringe when I see those skinny talk videos where, yeah, they make me cringe, because what do you mean you are going to shout at someone in order for them to lose weight, where else they didn't get fat or they didn't gain weight through that? There were so many factors that were contributing or are contributing to them being obese and whatnot. And we adapt, because why else would I show my pain? Abazalwane will say, I do not trust God enough. They will tell me that I'm kakhulu, but I've prayed, I've cried, and God is not coming to my rescue. But how dare I show others that I am weak? Because if I am weak, it means that the God that I serve, he is weak. You see? Yeah, and I'm just thinking of a lot of things that are being said to people who are actually experiencing very human reactions to stressful and frustrating events. And we adapt to feel safe and fit in, and adaptation becomes a pattern, and a pattern becomes a way of life. And because most of these things, they happen during childhood, it doesn't mean that when you grow up you suddenly return to the body. Growing up for most people, I'm gonna say most because some people don't relate to such, but it doesn't return. Actually, adulting amplifies this way of living and this way of thinking, and it makes us to be a shadow of ourselves, and we become the one who is always busy. We become the one who cannot rest. We overthink. We feel like our life is blocked because we start and we don't finish, and we delay what matters because what matters might be against the social norm. And then if you are unlucky, that's when you start experiencing panic attacks, you start experiencing anxiety, you start experiencing illness that is not explained in medical terms, but it is just the body saying, stop, you've abandoned me so long. I want us to catch up and rebuild this relationship that we had. And then we start calling it in different terminologies. We call it laziness, we call it self-sabotage, we call it procrastination, and we even call it lacking discipline. But the body is saying, I am tired of pushing through, I am tired of being ignored, and I am tired of feeling unsafe. The body is trying to pull you a different direction, but your responsibilities, the social norms, your programming or your conditioning is pushing you in a different direction. So then at some point the body is going to resist, because you have to live in harmony with your body, so that participation or engaging in daily activities becomes less of an effort. And the body is trying to protect itself, and it's trying to protect this. Then something missing inside of me, but I cannot I cannot point out that this is missing. You find someone who has cars, who has, like, I'm gonna mention things that we normally think equals to being fulfilled. They have a beautiful family, they are loved, but they still feel like there is something missing. It is because there is a disconnection between the body and who you are right now, and how your body reacts to day living. And then returning to the body, like I said in the previous video, it is not about disciplining yourself or trying to do things, I want to say in a different way, but it is not necessarily in a different way, but it is trying to be more present. It is trying to be more noticing of, okay, my body is tired, I'm going to rest. Okay, my mind is overloaded, I am going to take a pen and paper and just try and break down tasks. My body is reacting, I'm going to take some time off social media because social media is triggering me. My body is tired, or my body is feeling however, I'm just going to pause and breathe in and breathe out deeply. It is just doing small things that compounds to allow emotions without judgment, without control, pass through. Because when I'm feeling angry, suppressing anger doesn't make it go away. But when I allow myself to be angry and regulate myself while I'm angry, helps my body process anger better instead of me pushing it down, and it results in so many problems. So those moments that I've just explained or spoke about, they are an invitation for us to step into the shade a little bit longer than we normally sit, because that is where your body starts learning that, okay, I can take a break from working and my world will not fall apart. I can be weak and it's not something to be ashamed of, and I can let things sometimes fall apart and it is not the end of the world. That makes you human, doesn't make you some failure, but it makes you human. Yeah, so in the next episode I'll be elaborating much more on the patterns that we normally experience after we've left our body, such as your procrastination, poor time management, and self-sabotage, etc. But in the meantime, I want to leave you with there's 2 questions that you can reflect on. Growing up, which emotions were accepted and which emotions were unacceptable? Lastly, what did you learn about your emotions? You can comment down below. I look forward to hearing from you guys, and let's get this conversation going. And if you feel like this can be your space to breathe, step into the shade and join us on our next episode. And you can subscribe so that you don't miss out on this fun, informative, and thought-provoking conversations. Bye.